It was a quiet Sunday afternoon in London. The sun was shining gently through the trees. The sky was clear. Birds were singing. People were walking in the park, enjoying the fresh air. Children laughed as they played. Couples held hands. Dogs ran happily beside their owners. It was a peaceful day in Hyde Park. Jason Statham, the famous action movie star, was also in the park. He was walking alone. He wore a black jacket and dark sunglasses. He looked like a normal man, not a celebrity. He wanted some quiet time. No cameras, no crowds, no noise. Just peace. Jason had been working hard for many weeks. He was filming a new movie. It was full of action scenes, fights, and stunts. His body was tired. His mind needed rest. So he took a break and came to Hyde Park. He walked slowly on a curved path. Trees on both sides gave him shade. The wind was soft. The air was clean. Jason smiled. This moment felt perfect, but perfect moments do not always last. As Jason turned a corner, he heard something strange. At first, he thought it was someone laughing too loudly. Then he heard it again. It wasn't a laugh. It was a painful sound. A high cry, like something was hurting. Jason stopped walking. He looked ahead. A group of 3 men stood in a circle near the trees. They wore black leather jackets. Their boots were big and heavy. Some had tattoos on their arms and necks. They looked like bikers. The men were laughing, loud, cruel laughter. Jason stepped closer. He looked carefully. His heart dropped. In the middle of the circle was a small dog, a little brown and white terrier. The dog looked thin, dirty, and scared. It had no collar. It was shaking with fear. Its tail was between its legs. One of its front paws was lifted. It looked hurt. Then it happened. One of the bikers kicked the dog, hard. The small dog flew backward and hit the ground. It let out a sharp, painful cry. It tried to get up, but its body was weak. It couldn't run. It had no place to go. Jason couldn't believe what he saw. He stood still for a second. His mind was shocked. Who would hurt an innocent animal like this? The bikers laughed again. One of them raised his foot to kick the dog again. Jason felt something deep inside him change. The peace he had felt earlier was gone. It turned into something else. Anger. Hot, strong, burning anger. Jason Statham was known for playing tough guys in movies. But now, this was real life. And he was watching. Something cruel, something wrong. He knew he could not just walk away. He took a deep breath. Then he started walking, fast toward the men. At first, the bikers didn't notice him. They were too busy laughing. But then Jason shouted, "Hey!" His voice was deep, loud, and firm. It echoed in the quiet part of the park. The bikers turned around. They looked surprised. Who was this man shouting at them? Jason kept walking forward. His fists were tight at his sides. His face was serious. His jaw was tight. His steps were strong. The 3 men looked at each other. Then the biggest one stepped forward. He was tall, with a thick black beard. Tattoos covered both arms. "Mind your own business," the man said. His voice was rough. He tried to sound tough. Behind him, the small dog whimpered. It tried to move away again, but another biker stepped in front of it. The poor dog was trapped. Jason's face grew even more serious. He didn't stop walking. He stopped only a few feet away from the men. "I am making it my business," Jason said, calmly but firmly. One of the bikers looked closely at Jason. His eyes widened. "Wait a second. That's Jason Statham," he whispered to his friend. Now, all 3 of them looked again. Yes, it was him, the action star, the fighter from the movies, standing right there in front of them. But the biggest one didn't want to look scared. He laughed and said, "I don't care if he's the Queen of England, this ain't his dog." But his voice was weaker now. He wasn't so sure of himself anymore. More people in the park were now watching. A woman with a baby stroller stopped nearby. An old man pulled out his phone. A young couple stood frozen on the path, eyes wide. Everyone was waiting to see what would happen next. The small dog, now badly shaking, crawled slowly toward Jason. It moved behind his legs, trying to hide. It was seeking safety. It could feel Jason's kindness. Jason looked at the dog, then back at the men. "You have two choices," he said in a low, steady voice. "Walk away now, or try your luck." The park was silent. Even the wind seemed to stop. The bikers stood still. The tension was thick. They could see Jason wasn't bluffing. He wasn't just a movie fighter. He was ready. For one long second, no one moved. Then the biggest biker spit on the ground. "Whatever, it's just a mutt." They turned and walked away. They spoke loudly, pretending they didn't care. But everyone knew the truth. They had been stopped by one man. A man who stood up for what was right. Jason didn't move until they were gone. Then, he slowly knelt beside the injured dog. Jason slowly knelt on the soft grass. The little dog was still shaking. Its body was small and thin. Its fur was dirty and full of knots. There was a cut above one eye, and the front paw looked swollen. But worst of all was the fear in its eyes. The dog looked like it had forgotten what kindness was. Jason reached out his hand slowly. The dog flinched at first, thinking it was going to be hurt again. But Jason spoke in a calm, soft voice. "It's okay, buddy. You're safe now." The dog didn't move, it just stared. Then slowly it crawled forward. Its nose touched Jason's hand. A second passed. Then another. And then, the little dog licked his fingers. Jason smiled. People in the park clapped quietly. Some even had tears in their eyes. A few took videos. But Jason didn't care about the cameras or the people. Right now, the only thing he cared about was this tiny, broken creature. He gently picked the dog up. It was lighter than it should have been. Bones could be felt under the fur. The dog didn't fight. It rested its head on Jason's chest, like it had finally found safety. Jason stood up and looked around. The three cruel men were gone. The moment was over. But something inside him had changed. He couldn't walk away from this. Not now. An hour later, Jason sat in a quiet corner of the animal hospital. The dog lay wrapped in a blanket on a soft pillow. A vet named Dr. Emily was checking its injuries. She looked serious. "He's been hurt before," she said. "Not just today. His leg was broken a few weeks ago and healed badly. His ribs are bruised. He's starving. And he's scared of everything." Jason listened in silence. "Will he survive?" he asked. Dr. Emily nodded. "Yes, with care. But it will take time. He'll need food, medicine, and lots of love." Jason looked at the dog. It was sleeping now, safe for the first time in a long time. "I'll take him," Jason said. Dr. Emily looked surprised. "Are you sure?" Jason didn't even blink. "Yeah, he needs someone. And maybe I need him too." 1 week later, the small dog now had a name. Buddy. Jason had taken him home. He gave him a soft bed, clean water, and fresh food. At first, Buddy didn't eat much. He stayed in corners, hiding. He flinched when Jason got too close. He woke up from nightmares, crying in his sleep. Jason didn't give up. He sat beside Buddy for hours. He talked to him, fed him by hand, and let him sleep near his feet. Slowly, Buddy started to trust him. Each day, Buddy took one small step forward. One day, he wagged his tail. Another day, he licked Jason's cheek. Soon, he started following Jason around the house. The tough movie star and the scared little dog became best friends. But the story didn't end there. 3 weeks later, Jason was invited to a live TV talk show. He didn't usually talk about his personal life, but this time he brought Buddy with him. The host asked, "Jason, what made you rescue this little guy?" Jason looked at Buddy, who was sitting calmly on his lap. "I saw someone hurting him, and I couldn't walk away," he said. "He reminded me that sometimes the smallest things can have the biggest hearts." The audience clapped. The video of Jason rescuing Buddy had already gone viral. Millions of people had watched it. People sent letters, gifts, and donations to help rescue more animals, but not everyone was happy. A dark twist one night. Jason returned home late from a movie shoot. As he opened his door, he saw something strange. His living room was a mess. Papers were on the floor. A window was broken and Buddy was gone. Jason's heart dropped. He ran through the house. He called Buddy's name again and again, but the house was silent. Then he saw it. A note on the table. It had only 2 words, "Stay quiet." Jason's blood ran cold. Someone had broken into his home. Someone had taken Buddy, and now they were trying to scare him. He called the police, but even as they searched for clues, Jason knew one thing for sure. He would get Buddy back, no matter what. A new mission begins. Jason couldn't sleep that night. He sat in Buddy's empty bed holding the little blanket. His mind raced with questions. Who took Buddy? Was it the bikers from the park? Were they angry because he stopped them? Or was it someone else? Jason didn't wait for answers. He started searching. He called friends, asked for street camera footage, talked to animal shelters, and even used private investigators. But every trail was cold. Until one day, a message came to his phone. A photo. It showed Buddy, locked in a cage. Behind him was a dirty wall with graffiti. Jason zoomed in. On the wall was a name, Bone Pit. He had heard that name before. It was the nickname for an illegal dogfighting club hidden somewhere in the city. Jason's face went hard. Now it wasn't just about saving a dog. It was about stopping a crime. It was about justice. It was personal. Jason stared at the photo on his phone. His hands were shaking with anger. Buddy was locked in a cage. The poor dog looked weak and scared. Behind him, the dirty wall said, Bone Pit. A cruel place where bad people forced dogs to fight. Jason's heart burned. This was no longer just about saving his dog. It was about stopping something evil. He took a deep breath and stood up. "I'm coming for you, Buddy," he said softly. Jason's plan. Jason didn't tell anyone. Not the police, not the reporters, not even his friends. He knew this was dangerous. The Bone Pit was secret. It was hidden deep in the city. Only criminals knew where it was. But Jason had one clue: the graffiti in the photo. He remembered a place from his old action movie shoots. A closed-down warehouse near the train tracks. It had the same graffiti on the back wall. He put on a hoodie, packed a flashlight, rope, gloves, and his phone. He also took something special, Buddy's favorite toy, a small red ball. He knew the smell might help Buddy feel safe. Into the shadows. It was midnight when Jason reached the warehouse. The sky was dark and the street was quiet. The building was broken and empty. But Jason saw something strange. Fresh tire marks on the ground. Someone had been here recently. He walked carefully, staying in the shadows. He found a broken door on the side. It was unlocked. Inside, the air smelled bad. There were stains on the floor, old cages stacked against the walls, chains, blood. Jason's stomach turned. Then he heard it, barking. Not happy barking. Angry, scared barking, and crying. He followed the sound. The secret room at the back of the warehouse. There was a metal door. Jason pressed his ear against it. Voices. Loud ones. Men, talking, laughing, and then a yelp. Jason's fists clenched. He found a small window above the door. He pulled himself up and looked inside. What he saw made his heart break. There was a ring made of steel fences. Inside, 2 dogs were fighting. People stood around, shouting and cheering. Some were filming with phones. Others were betting money. And, in the corner, Buddy, locked in a cage. Thin, scared, hurt. Jason felt fire inside him. He dropped back down and whispered, "I'm getting you out, Buddy. Right now." The distraction. Jason needed a plan. He couldn't fight 10 men, but maybe he didn't have to. He looked around and found an old fuse box on the wall. He smiled. If he could cut the lights, maybe he could sneak Buddy out. He opened the box and pulled the main switch. Bang! The lights went out. People inside started shouting. What happened? Hey, who turned off the lights? Jason moved fast. He opened the door and slipped inside during the chaos. The room was dark, but he knew where Buddy was. He ran to the cage, unlocked it with a metal hook from his pocket, and grabbed Buddy. Shh, it's me, boy. It's okay. Buddy licked his hand. His tail wagged weakly. Jason held him close and turned to leave. But it wasn't that easy. Caught a flashlight beam hit Jason's face. Hey, that's the guy from the video. Jason froze. A tall man with a scar on his cheek stepped forward. He had a chain in his hand. You think you can come in here and steal from us? Jason didn't answer. He held Buddy tighter and backed toward the door, but 3 more men blocked the way. You're not going anywhere, one of them said. Jason looked around. He was trapped. Buddy growled, even in his weak state. Jason stood tall. You want to fight? He said. Fine. Let's fight. The fight for Buddy. The first man rushed toward Jason. Jason ducked and punched him in the stomach. The man fell. Another grabbed Jason's hoodie, but Jason twisted and kicked him away. The third man pulled out a knife. Jason's eyes narrowed. He grabbed a metal rod from the floor and swung it. Clang! The knife flew out of the man's hand. Jason pushed forward, protecting Buddy with one arm and fighting with the other. The men weren't ready for this. They didn't expect a movie star to fight like a real hero. Soon they were on the ground, groaning. Jason ran out the door, Buddy in his arms. Freedom. He didn't stop running until he reached his car. He placed Buddy in the passenger seat and looked at him. You're safe now, boy. We did it. Buddy licked his face, and for the first time in days, wagged his tail with joy. Jason smiled, tears in his eyes. He started the car and drove straight to the animal hospital. The world reacts. The next day, the news exploded. Jason saves dog from illegal fighting ring. Movie star fights criminals to rescue Buddy. Police raided the warehouse and arrested the criminals. Buddy became a hero. People from all over the world sent letters and gifts. Jason used the attention to raise money for rescued animals. But Jason didn't care about fame. All he cared about was Buddy, safe, happy, and home again. After Jason saved Buddy, everything changed. People called him a real-life hero. News reporters followed him, children sent drawings, animal lovers cheered for him. But Jason didn't want attention. He didn't want trophies or interviews. He only wanted one thing: to stop the evil completely. He had saved Buddy, but he had seen too much inside that warehouse. He knew there were many more dogs out there, still locked in cages, still forced to fight, still suffering in the dark. Jason couldn't sleep. Buddy would whimper in his dreams, and Jason would wake up angry and full of pain. He looked at Buddy one night and said, "We have to finish this, for them." The hidden enemy. Jason started digging deeper. He used his fame to speak with detectives, animal workers, and former gang members. What he found was shocking. The Bone Pit was not just one place. It was part of a big secret network. A group of powerful people ran illegal dogfights in different cities. They made money, threatened people, and even paid the police to stay silent. Jason now knew. Saving Buddy was only the beginning. There was a man behind it all, known only by a code name: Black Jack. No one knew what he looked like. No one dared to talk about him. Jason knew if he wanted to stop everything, he would have to find Black Jack. The clue: one day, a letter arrived at Jason's house. There was no name, no return address. Inside was a photo. It showed a dog with one eye covered in scars tied to a chain. On the back was a message: "You stopped one show, but you can't stop the empire. Back off." Jason's hands shook. "Buddy," growled when he sniffed the photo. Jason looked at the photo again and noticed something small, a reflection in the dog's eye. It was a sign on the wall. Doc 17. That was it. A clue. Jason whispered, "I'm not backing off." Back into the fire, Jason packed his bag again. He didn't tell anyone. Not the police. Not the press. This mission was too dangerous. If someone was being paid to protect the dogfight ring, Jason couldn't trust anyone. He kissed Buddy's head. "Stay safe, boy. I'll come back for you, I promise." Then he left and heading to the docks. It was night. Cold wind blew. The ocean was dark and silent. Jason found Dock 17. It looked empty. But behind the cargo boxes he saw movement, lights, and heard barking. Jason moved slowly. He saw men guarding a door. They were armed. He needed a plan. The infiltration. Jason remembered one thing: movies. In his action films he had played spies, soldiers, and secret agents. Now he had to be all of them. He climbed the back of a container, crawled across the top, and waited. One of the guards lit a cigarette and stepped away. The other turned to check something on his phone. Jason jumped down quietly, knocked the man out, and slipped inside. What he saw was worse than before. This was not just a fight club. This was a full prison for animals. Dozens of dogs in cages. Some could not even stand. Others were just puppies. Jason's eyes filled with tears. Then they turned to fire. This ends now. Face to face with Black Jack. Suddenly, someone clapped behind him. "Well, well," said a deep voice. "The hero returns." Jason turned. A man in a black coat stepped out of the shadows. He had a gold ring with a dog skull. His smile was cold. "I'm Black Jack," he said. "You should have stayed in your rich house." Jason clenched his fists. "You're sick. This ends tonight." Black Jack laughed. "It ends, yes. But for you." Suddenly, two large men grabbed Jason from behind. They tied his hands and threw him to the floor. "You'll be the next show," Black Jack said. "Let's see how the hero fights in the pit." The fight for justice. Jason was thrown into the ring. Lights turned on. Cameras pointed at him. Dogs barked wildly. Black Jack stood above, smiling. Jason looked around. There were tools on the ground. Broken cages, chains, and something sharp and a broken pipe. He waited. One of the guards opened a gate. A huge, angry dog was pushed into the ring. Jason's heart broke. The dog didn't want to fight. He was scared and hurt. Jason dropped the pipe. "I'm not fighting you," he said. "It's okay, I'm not your enemy." The dog paused, growled, then sniffed Jason's hand. He wagged his tail. Gasps came from the crowd. Black Jack shouted, "Do it! Bite him!" But the dog just sat down beside Jason. Jason stood up and yelled, "Take your cameras. Show the world. These dogs don't want to fight. You force them. You torture them." Suddenly a loud voice echoed, "This is the police. Don't move." Justice at last. Sirens wailed. Helicopters flew above. Lights flashed. Police stormed in, guns ready. Someone had called them secretly. It was Jason's assistant who had followed him from a distance after finding the note. Black Jack tried to run but was caught. The guards were arrested. The cages were opened. Dogs were carried out to safety. Jason collapsed from exhaustion. But he smiled. It was finally over. A new beginning. 1 week later, Jason stood in front of a new building. Buddy's Haven, a rescue center for abused animals. Jason had started it using donations from around the world. Now, hundreds of dogs had a safe place to heal. Buddy ran beside him, tail wagging. Reporters asked him, "What made you do all this?" Jason smiled. "Because every dog deserves love, not pain,